Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this week's special May Mural Month replay episode, I decided to bring back an interview I did 3 years ago with a muralist named Pamela Kellough. I remember this being one of my most favorite interviews from 2021. Pamela has such a warmth about her, which made talking to her such a delight. And I remember getting messages from people just raving about her episode and just how much they loved just listening to her speak. She is almost 70 now and still muraling. So if anyone has ever tried painting large scale for any amount of time, you'll realize that it is physical. Like painting, it's a workout doing murals. And between, being on your feet for hours and outside and unloading gallons of paint and climbing on ladders or just climbing up into the lift, it's tough on the body, which makes me even more impressed that Pamela is doing it with a smile on her face. This lets me know that I'll be doing it until 70 nearly as well. So Pamela has a very old school way of working. There's no iPad for sketches. There's no Facetiming to go see the site. She does it in person. She has a sketchbook and she does personal site inspections. And she has just a very back in the day way of doing it. And I'll let her explain the benefits of all those methods, but it just goes to show you that you don't need to be up on all the newest tech and latest trends to do a project in a timely manner. And also wait until you hear how much Pamela makes versus how much she works. Talk about a motivator to start painting large scale. She's such a boss babe, and I'm so honored to have her on the podcast. I do want to preface this with the quality of the audio in this interview is not as good as the interviews I do nowadays. So just please excuse that and look past that onto the actual content. Pamela has so much advice to give with a lifelong mural career backing her. So let me know what you think about this week's episode with Pamela Kellough. If you could maybe start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about how you got into the arts. And just all of the things. We want to know all of it.
My name is Pam Kellough. You can find me on Facebook under Pamela Kellough Murals. I just had a birthday last week. I'm 65 years old and still going strong. And I've got a huge season coming up this summer. I work daily. I have been married for about 47 years to the same man, and we have 5 children. And I have 5 grandsons and a granddaughter on the way, which I'm very excited about because now I have something to dress in pink. I have no formal training whatsoever. My last class was in 6th grade by a teacher who hated kids. I mean, she really hated kids. She was a million years old and she had no patience for any of us. And my few memories of any type of an art class are pretty bad. It's a wonder I ever became an artist. But I've always been very creative. I tell people because they say, oh my gosh, I just wish I could do what you do. And I say, this is a monster that has to be fed every single day. I'm creating every single day, whether that would be through painting or sewing or my carpentry work or furniture building. It's constant, just a constant thing. Because I have no formal training, I kind of approach things a lot differently than what you're taught in a classroom situation. Everything I've learned, I have figured out on my own.
That's amazing. I love that. I love your perspective on this. I've never heard of that. So I'm interested in this whole way of doing things. So have you been an artist your whole life, or when did that tipping point happen where you became an artist?
Well, my creativity has changed constantly. I've always been a stay-at-home mother, and my top priority was my children. And for a short period of time, and really kind of my artwork went on the back burner. But whenever I would want to do anything artistic, we had a very small house at that time. I would set my paints up on the kitchen table, and then I'd take my children and put them on the floor with those little watercolor sets, and they would sit down there and they would paint, and I would paint at the same time. And I actually, for a period of time, went into designing and selling my clothing. And I sold my clothing all across the United States in boutiques and stores, and actually wound up in Penny's and Lazarus and some Elder Beerman, some big department stores. And it was just really difficult to do that as a stay-at-home mom. So I began to dabble in paint. And I had a friend who called me up, and she knew that I had painted for years and years. And one of the things that I did was I came up with a complete line of paintings that were all scripture plaques, and they all had a coordinating picture that went along with that. And I actually did home party style sales for a long time. And because one of my friends knew that I had painted that way, she called me up and said, would you come and paint baby angels on my nursery wall? And I told her, I said, I can't do that. And she said, get in here and paint. So I did, and it came out really well. I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And I love the difference of the perspective of working on something that's an 8 by 10 versus a wall that's 8 foot by 10 foot wall. And it went well. And so the way that I actually, quote unquote, went into business is somebody told me about the Parade of Homes. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is. That's not in this region. But the Parade of Homes is held like in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Columbus, Ohio. And if you hook up with a designer, you can go in and paint at the Parade of Homes. Well, I did. And my business took off from there because everyone that tours the Parade of Homes are prepared to pay the price for it. That's always the issue you get into. Can you get the price that you need for the work that you're doing? And when I did that, my business just basically exploded.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So explain that a little bit more. How did it explode again? What is this?
Okay, the Parade of Homes are high-end home builders that want to build unusual and unique homes, and then they charge people megawatt to tour those homes. And those people go through and they see the latest in building trends, they see the latest in decor, and lots of artisans are there, photographers, etc. And they use our work as part of the decor in these homes. And it lasts about 2 weeks. And I would work it. And I'm not kidding you, that's where the vast majority of my business came from, was the Parade of Homes. And then from there, it expanded.
Wow. And
so that's how I got started. Now, keep in mind, this was pre-Facebook, long time before social media. I had no way to market myself at all other than through designers and through this Parade of Homes. And then eventually what happened is I became known in my own hometown, and I started to be hired for commercial jobs such as schools and things of that nature. And then it just spiraled from there into commercial fields.
Wow, that's so cool. And how long have you been doing murals?
I think about 22 to 24 years.
Wow.
And I've done primarily interior murals for most of those years. Now, don't be overly impressed with that, because a lot of women are going, oh man, I'd like to start that, but I just don't know how to go about it. I started small. I was word of mouth. Friends would tell another friend about it. And I was making just pennies on the dollar compared to what I'm doing now. What happened with me in the last few years, which is really exciting, is I've been around for years and years, and people had not heard of me unless you heard of me through word of mouth. And I was hired for my first exterior mural. Well, when you get exterior, the first one I did, they said that I think 50,000 cars came through there per day and stopped at that stoplight. So I had 50,000 cars going through there looking at me daily for about a month. When you have that kind of exposure, then my exterior mural business just blew up. And I'm busy all the time now.
Wow. I love that because so here in the Artist Academy, we teach how to paint murals. And so this is why we have you in here and discussing all this. So I love that you're saying this because we just did this whole thing about how if you can get to paint a mural in a public space, it's basically like doing or creating a billboard for your business. And that's exactly what happened with you. It's a billboard for your business.
Yes, it is. That's true. I do primarily commercial work now, and trust me, the dollars comparison to private versus commercial is just exponentially more.
Yeah, businesses they know the cost of doing business and they'll pay more. Yep.
They do. They do.
Awesome. Okay. How many hours do you spend painting like per day and per week?
I laugh and I say I hold a paintbrush every single day. Like I said, I create most daily. Now, my schedule is a little different. I'm very possessive of my time. When I volunteer something, it is at my choice to do that versus people calling up and saying, "Oh, we'd like to know if you would donate a mural to such and such organization." And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I will choose who I donate my murals to. I just donated a $10,000 mural to a local community center for Black History Month. So I choose to do that. However, with my days, I will spend a day, if I have sketches to do, I'm old school. I sit down and physically sketch out a mural. Let me go through the process, first of all, about how I'm contacted. I am contacted usually through social media, and I do a lot of cities, towns, and villages now. And what I'll do is I will set an appointment up and I will go and view the site. I don't take photos over the phone when people say, let me snap a shot and send it to you. If you do that, they do not know the surface. They don't understand what I have to look at in order to give them a price. So it doesn't matter if it's 2 hours from here or an hour from here or 30 minutes. I go to the site, I meet with them, I find out what it is that they want me to do. And the biggest clue, the biggest part of my business is listening. I let that person talk to me for as long. I said they do 75% of the talking and I do 25%. And the reason for that is they may not know what they want on that mural, but if they talk long enough, the love of their heart will come out and you'll be able to create a mural around what it is they're telling you that their impressions are of what they think they'd like. So it's vitally important that you listen to your client. I then from there get an idea. Now look, this is what this is going to cost. Are you prepared? And they'll be like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or, oh my God, I had no idea. If they respond to me like that, I don't invest any more time in it. But if they're like, yes, please move forward, I come home and do sketches and create what they need. Then I go back, and as a general rule, I'm presenting to the village council or the city council. And I talk to them about what it is I'm going to do, the materials that I use to do that. I stress the fact that I am a professional. I have all the time when I meet with people, they'll say things like, well, I can have old so-and-so come in here for $500 and a case of beer, and he'll paint that for me. And I say, that's what you're going to get. And I stress to them that a mural will last for 20 years or whatever length of time it is. Do you want some hideousness on your wall, or do you want something that starts with the base out and will last you and look good for years to come? And then at that point, if they're ready to sign a contract, I sign a contract with them. And yes, I sign a contract every time. Once that picture is on the wall, you cannot repossess it. If you don't have a contract, you're screwed. And then at that point, as soon as the weather breaks, I take whatever process I have to do and go get started on the wall.
Wow. So I love all of this. I love how you just really go into detail when explaining a lot of these things, because in my business, I typically like to do things fast, and I'm like, okay, yeah, a photo is fine. But I love how you're just like, nope, we're going to take our time and we're going to make sure this is done right.
They will tell you, oh, the wall is great. And you get there and you realize that it's a brick wall, that part of it has mortar squishing out, and the other half has mortar joints that are an inch deep. What I do, and this is one of the unique things about my husband and I, my husband is my lifeblood. He is absolutely the most supportive man in the world. He comes from a construction background the way that basically I do. And we are one of the few mural artists that I can come in there and I can give you a price from taking it from the wall all the way out. If you can do that, you will work. And what I'm talking about is those really walls that are, now I'm not talking about reconstructing a wall. I don't do that. But it's like to make that wall mural ready that would be relatively smooth. Now we're not talking glass. We come in with mortar and concrete, whatever. My husband's got the recipe for that. And we actually scree that on there like it would be grout. And we prepare that surface. And then that way, I know it's going to last from the base preparation all the way out. And I'm always asked, my question is always asked, how many coats are on there? And I say it can be 20 coats. By the time you put your concrete on there, you put your primer, then you put your base coat on, then you put your next coat on. And then when I start the artwork, you know how it is. You can put layer after layer after layer in order to get the depth that you want. And then on top of that, especially in cities and villages and things like that, I put an anti-graffiti shield on top of that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
First off,
Absolutely.
I am just so impressed with that you're able to do this, because you don't know how many walls that I get to and I'm like, okay, well, it's brick. I guess we'll just paint something on there. And I just explained to him that, not going to be able to get really detailed because it's brick and it's tough and it's going to take longer. But you rework the wall. That I've never heard of this, and I love it.
Well, one woman that was one of the first walls that we worked, she's got a price from a guy. And he, first of all, to paint the mural that I painted, he was going to be 3 times my price. He was good. I'm not going to lie about that, but he wasn't 3 times my price good. But he also told her, now you have to get this wall repaired. And she was looking at $10,000 to get the wall repaired if she could get somebody in there to even do it, because you're dealing with multiple trades. You're dealing with getting a mason in there to work with the concrete and someone who knows what they're doing. And we know what we're doing. So we just tack that on my mural price and then we go do it.
I love that. Man.
It's very profitable.
Yeah. How much does this cost? Can we talk about pricing for a bit? How much do you tell them, like on the phone or wherever, like to be like, okay, it's going to cost 5,000, 10,000. What is your average mural cost? And then how much does it cost to repair a wall? I know that size and detail and all that, but what's a general cost?
First of all, when I'm contacted by someone, they don't know. And it's like I said, you don't know if it's $5, $500, $500,000, because artwork is so varied. There is no standard. And my thing is, I would rather work than not. I love to work. I love to create. I love to drive by my murals after they're on the walls. It's like, oh, dude, man, I did that. But I am someone that if I put my price out there amongst other artists that are extremely accomplished and they're like, oh my God, it would be one of those things where they'd say, oh, I would easily get $40,000 for that. And I will do a mural for $20,000 to $25,000. When it comes to wall repair, it depends upon how extensive it is, usually about $2,000 to $3,000, depending upon what we need to have done. But the advantage is I'm there. I'm doing it anyway. This way that you don't have to contact another tradesperson and get them in there. So it's just easier for them to pay me. So it just depends. I do get a lot more now than I ever did. Even my first exterior mural was not extremely expensive. But the thing about interior and exterior is you're talking two entirely different animals. You're talking an interior mural being a kitty cat and an exterior mural being a lion. And the difference in the, not techniques, the preparation, the products is so much different that it commands more of a price. You're dealing with weather, you're dealing with people coming up talking to you all the time, which honestly can eat a lot of your time up. However, let me say, I do allow for that because people will like you. If you're nice to them and you talk to them, I take that time and do that. It's just such a different animal with surface preparation and everything. That is why I talk to my client, especially villages, cities, towns, whatever, about the difference between someone who says, I can do that for $1,000 versus my price for $20,000. There's a lot more. It is a very specific and specified field versus just being able to paint.
So true. And the people hiring you, they are like city councils and like bigger businesses in general, right?
They are, but keep in mind, I started teeny tiny. Yeah. This isn't something that people can say, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. I often tell young women will say to me, I wish I could do what you do. And I say, at your age, I couldn't do what I do. I wish my success had come on me 10 to 15 years ago because I'm 65 now. I'm looking down the barrel of a gun. I mean, how many more years can I do this? And so the skill comes along with that daily holding a paintbrush and just totally, completely practicing every single day at what you do.
Oh, amen. I love that. I love everything that you just said. It's so the long game. It's like, and you're just very much proof of it. The longer you stay in this game, the more people see it, the better you get. And now you're doing really, really well. This is just, inspiring.
The irony is I just did a mural that was over 1,000 square feet. It was 20 foot tall and it was 50 foot long. I did it in 13 days. Now, that doesn't come when you're 30 years old and just getting started out. That comes when you're 65 years old and you held a paintbrush and every stroke you put on that wall goes where you want it to go. And honestly, I can put a mural up in no time. I've probably got 4 murals booked through the course of this summer of where I just roll right in there. I get them on the wall and I roll out.
Yeah. Using a roller, it makes it a lot quicker, right?
No, I use a paintbrush.
No, oh my gosh, you don't use a roller either.
No, I do not. Well, I use a roller for, primer and things like that. No, I use paintbrushes. And believe it or not, some of my paintbrushes I use are like a number 10 shader. They're not huge. Oh. It's just called speed. And that just comes from years and years of practice.
Yep. And props to you because murals are very draining. There's a lot of stuff. You're outside half the time and it's a lot of arm movements and body going up and down on the lift. So props to you for that.
Well, one thing that I do, and I'm going to mention this, these are practical things. These are things I talk about to the Columbus College of Art and Design when they have me speak there. One of the things I do, like I said, my husband is the best in the world. If I think I'm interested in this job, he's like, let's go for it. Let's do it. And he will build me shade. I had a mural go viral in July. It was June. Okay. Yeah, that went viral. And that was across the United States. I did nothing but spend 5 days of just monitoring comments on that. Oh, it was fabulous. And actually, believe it or not, in January, there was a magazine in Iowa, a really nice one, about farming that featured me in that magazine, which is cool to see yourself in there. Yeah. But it was so hot. It was miserable. I'm talking like 95 degrees and 100% humidity. And I was working. And I told my husband knows I can't work in that kind of heat. So he actually comes in and constructs me shade to where I will have tarps and they are attached and I don't have to worry about, and I can work under shade. And he's created shade for my man lift too. And those are the kind of things that will help you be able to make it through those times of where it's too hot to work. Well, not really. I can get out there and still keep doing it. And the weather is an issue always. And heck, I work through rain. If it's my wall is under an eave, I keep working. I don't care how wet I get as long as the wall is dry.
Yep, I totally understand that. And I'm very much a ginger, so there's absolutely no sun. Like that's my just one thing. I just can't work in the sun. So just we'll figure out shade. We'll figure out
exactly.
Okay, I'm loving all of this. So Taryn has a question. Taryn's here in the Artist Academy Advanced. Have you ever done an installation mural? She says that she has a 35 by 6 foot mural that she's painting, but the business really didn't want it on the building. They maybe want to remove it at some point. Have you ever done an installation mural?
I have done installation murals. I haven't been called on recently to do that. It depends upon, of course, the surface of the wall and whatever. And I have spent extensive period of time checking out the proper materials to use for that. I've had some people I've seen that suggest you can use marine plywood. That is not going to last as long as you want to. But I would contact a sign manufacturer, someone who designs signs. And like we have one guy that does it in our downtown where I live in Chillicothe, who has to fall within the historic preservation area. So it all has to be approved. And there's a signboard that you can use. And one of them is called Dye Bond. And the other is, I don't know, I can't remember what that particular one is called, but those come in 4x8 sheets or 4x12 sheets. And those will last. And I was going to do an installation mural at one of our National Park Services, but COVID came and killed that whole thing. So I didn't get a chance to do it. Did that answer their question?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's just a lot to it. I hear. I wanted to try it, but I have no experience in that either. So yeah, thanks for giving us just like an overall view of it. Have you ever came across something to where like you've learned the hard way? Is there anything you've learned the hard way doing murals?
I learn every single time I go out. And I think, oh, I know how to do this. And then you get there and it's just like construction. If you go to remodel a home, you find out that nothing's true and nothing is square. So every project is always different. And let me just say this, when it comes to that, I mentioned listening earlier. Probably one of my greatest failures and hence my greatest learning experience. I went in with a woman who wanted a train put in her son's room. And she described to me what it was. And I had in my mind what I thought it was going to be. And she's describing what she wants. I went in and started painting, and I got like a full day. And she walked into the room, and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm putting the train on the wall." She said, "That's not what I had in mind." And I was mortified. And so she wound up that she said, "You know what? I like this. I really do." And the more that she liked it, she was like, yeah, I do. I really like this. This is a better idea than what I had. And the irony is, I talked to her just a few months ago, and this was actually for a young man who had Down syndrome. And he's now in his 30s. And she said, "Pam, that mural is still on the wall because he loves it. He loves his train." Now, what I learned from that was this. I went into that job like, oh, I know what she wants. Oh, she said a train. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I didn't listen to my client. That could have backfired so huge. And I'll tell you, we are a profession. And if you don't treat it like it's a profession, you wind up that it will come back and bite you. I use professional words when I speak to them. I use contracts. I have details about exactly what products I'm going to use and how I'm going to go about to get what your idea is. And that's the other thing. I just found out the other day that they painted over a couple of my murals that I was very, very proud of. And somebody called me up and they said, Pam, did you know they painted over that? And I said, you know what? It's not mine. I painted that for them. And my whole thing with my business is this: it's not about me. I'm a vehicle to get on the wall what your desire, your dreams are. And so my ego has to step out of the way and I have to permit their vision to be put on the wall. And I'll tell you, if you do that, you'll be hired the rest of your life.
So true. It's just taking your mentality from this being a hobby to this is my business, and
Uh-huh.
it's just putting yourself in the customer's perspective too. And
Yeah.
how professional do they want you to be? And how professional do you want to work with someone? Like, what would you like that dynamic to be and just delivering it?
I had someone told me when I was especially working with a parade of homes, because those are designers. And I was told a couple of times, they said designers don't like to work with mural artists. And I was so surprised by that. And she just told me, she said, because most of them are big jerks. They think they know what you want on your wall and they'll come and do whatever it is they want to do. And she gave me the example of this. Now, this was during the Tuscan period of time. She said, I asked for this artist to put on the wall a grapevine. And she said, I came in and I looked at it and I said, what is that? And he said, oh, that's my interpretation of a grapevine. She said, I didn't want your interpretation. I wanted a daggone grapevine. And that's what I say. You ask me for a grapevine. When I leave, you're going to have a grapevine. That's why I work all the time, is because I say, you want this on the wall? You're not getting my interpretation of that. You're getting what you asked for. And you know what? I made enough income last year that would be the equivalent of probably a teacher with a master's degree in a big area, maybe even more than that, because I know I'm comparing it to right here where it is. And I work 14 days a month, and I've got almost a whole winter off. I guarantee you that's pretty good money. So I figured I hate to talk money because it sounds, but I figured up the other day, I'm making between $1,000 and $1,200 a day.
Oh, good.
And
that makes me so happy.
That just comes from listening to your clients, and your clients will hire you over and over because of the fact that you listen to them and you're compliant, you're agreeable, and you don't make their life hard.
So true. And guys, for anybody listening to, I just want to reiterate what she's saying. Like, she's making good money. She's working half the year. She's gotten fast to the point where she's practiced every day, and just, it's so the long game. And you guys can all get to this level at this as well. And we love to talk money here in the Artist Academy Advanced, especially. We talk pricing and we talk all the things because it is a big motivator. And we all work for the same reason, to make money. And it's a plus that we can do what we love, but it is, you're a lot of work. So,
well, they will say things like, do you charge per square foot? My math skills are terrible, and it's getting worse as I get older because I have dyslexia. And so you can give me a number, and I can't tell you within 10 minutes after that what number you gave me. So it's one of those things of where I am to the point now where I walk in, look at a wall, and I say, this is what it's going to cost you. Now, content may cause it to vary a little bit, which, if it is, it's like $1,000 one way or another. But this is what this particular wall will cost you. And I hear a lot of artists who say, I charge $25 a square foot. I charge $40 a square foot. I don't even know how to do that. I just walk up and say, this is what your wall is going to cost.
Awesome. Is that based on maybe like how long you think it's going to take you? So you're kind of doing like an hourly rate, or it's just like an overall bid?
I know what it's going to take me to do that. And it's also, honestly, it's like I said, I like to work. And so I think, would I rather go work and do a mural? Let's say somebody calls me up down the road and I'll say, that'll cost you $1,000. Somebody else may say, oh my gosh, you could have gotten 3,000 out of that. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I can sit at home and watch TV for 2 or 3 days, or I can run down there and knock that out and get $1,000. And that's kind of the way that I do a lot of my murals. And another thing is, this is important of all the things I'm saying today when it comes to pricing. A lot of times, my first question is, and what is your budget for this project? Because I honestly had a woman who contacted me about painting a nursery, and she wanted me to paint the walls. She wanted me to do this artwork on the wall, all of which was going to take me about 4 to 5 days to do it. And I told her that, and she was someone I went to church with, so I gave her a discount rate of like $500. And she was stunned. And she said, I thought it would be about $50. And I thought, you can't even get a wall painter in here to paint for $50. And she was really upset with me. And I learned at that point on, before I do anything, I asked, what is your budget for this project? They'll usually give this a very evasive answer. And I'll say, well, look, this will start at $10,000 before we even discuss what goes in for content. And if they don't like cringe at $10,000, then I go ahead and we discuss content. And by the end of the consultation, I'll say, this is looking closer to $15,000. Okay, let me meet with my board and we'll see what it is we have to do about that. But don't waste your time. If they're thinking you're going to do this stuff for nickels, I don't even waste my time on that.
So true. Yeah. And I don't know that you could really buy supplies for that amount, but it just down to what people like their value of art. And in smaller towns, it's hard to get people to value art sometimes.
It's interesting because Hometown, everybody knows Hometown with Ben and Erin Napier. They have taken on a project this year, which a lot of us DIYers love this stuff, where they're going to do another town that's called Wetumpka, Alabama. And they're going to go in there and renovate and do some projects there. So they did, I don't have cable anymore, so I'm not sure where they stand on this. But she did a prelude where she talked about this for an hour show, that this is one of the houses we're going to do, and this is one of the businesses we're going to do. The last thing she said within about the last 5 minutes of the show was this. This is what you need to hear. She said, the first thing I'm going to do is get myself a mural artist in here, and we're going to paint murals. And she talked about how when they show the beginning credits to Laurel, you'll see welcome to Laurel on the signs, and most of it's just lettering. It's really cool looking. But she did 2 or 3 murals down there in Laurel, Mississippi. And she said this was the beginning of the renovation of Laurel, was me doing these murals. That's how important it is of what we're doing. So don't let people act like that what you're doing doesn't matter. She's saying this is the first thing we got to get going here.
Yeah, because if you look at some of the bigger cities, there's art everywhere, and it's good. And a lot of these smaller towns, it's scarce, and that's that's actually how I got my start. I'm in Springfield, Missouri, pretty small town, and there's no art here, so I just started painting murals, and then it kind of became a local name. But I totally agree. If somebody's listening that's in a city where there's not very many murals, there you go. You have a blank canvas, and it needs it. It's part of the culture.
Yeah. I think so many times, I come from a very artistic family, as in like a sister who's a musician, a brother who's a fine carpenter, a clock builder for a father. So my artwork, I always kind of thought everybody could do this. And the fact of the matter is, only half the people out there have an artistic bone at all. If they're any good is a whole different issue. We actually are a very small, select group of people that can do what it is we do. And once again, when you add going from interior to exterior murals, that percentage drops even farther to where there's just not a lot of people around that can do what it is we do. And so we need to, and I hate to use the word take pride because I don't think we should walk around being all proud of ourselves, but to take pride in the fact that if you can accomplish this, you've done something most of the world can't do.
Yep. So true. Taryn has a question here. She's really good at all these questions. She said, if you're starting out, would you suggest taking those lower paying jobs to get experience? Just a little background. This is her first year in painting, and she lives in Alaska, and so she's really just getting her start. And would you take those lower paying jobs back then, like even if it was like $50, or what's your?
Oh, Taryn, I took jobs for $50 back when I first got started. The first job that I did, which was the little baby angels that was around this nursery, I think she gave me $200 for that. Now, like I said, that's some 22 years ago, and I was thrilled to death. Oh my gosh. And I'll never forget when a woman paid me, and I did a lot of work in her house, and she paid me 14 $100 bills and then gave me a $100 bill as a tip. I was carrying 15 $100 bills. Oh my gosh, I've made it into the big time. And I kind of laugh now because when people throw out these $100 jobs, I don't even fire up a brush for $100, you know. Now, I don't get me wrong, but absolutely. Especially if it's something that inspires you. Now, if it's something that you're dreading and you're thinking, boy, I just don't know how to go about that, kind of rethink it. And another thing, if you get someone who thinks you're supposed to do this work for free and they're being difficult and whatever, run. You don't need that kind of stuff. So do what you can. Contact schools. I got a huge boost because I went in and did schools, believe it or not, for the student council. They paid me, the student council did. And those murals are still there. I go through that school and they look so nice. I'm so happy with them. And you know that I did like 5 murals for $1,000. The library, I did $1,000, and I did a mural that had, I think, probably about 10 or 12 characters from the children's books that we did. So yeah, take those jobs if there's something that inspire you.
Great advice. I completely agree. So do people mostly contact you nowadays, or have you gone in and pitched yourself, or in the early days to cities or towns? Because we had one question here. Somebody says, how do you connect with towns and cities to paint murals for them?
This is crazy. I got a couple of phone calls from people who were saying, I talked to the Chamber of Commerce in Chillicothe and they gave me your name. And I'm thinking, Chamber of Commerce? Who the heck are they? I knew they existed, but I didn't know anything about them. I found out that one of those women in there saw one of the murals I did. And so when people would call up, I just moved to Chillicothe. I would like to know if there's anybody around that can do a mural. Oh, yes, Pamela Kellough Murals. She can do that for you. And so the Chamber of Commerce has given me a ton of business. The social media, oh my gosh, this is the thing that I think if I'd have had social media 20 years ago, I have no idea where I would be now. I mean, I would be picking jobs that were cherry picking jobs and living big, but I didn't have that. And get yourself, of course, a business page. And what I do is I post anything to my private page as well as my business page. And I post, if I'm on a job site, I post daily. And I would like the schools see me. Now, if they go into a school and see my work, another school may call me off of that. I've donated to the food pantry. I did a huge cornucopia, which I still love to this day. I work for Hope Clinic every Monday night. And for them, I did some artwork in there too. Now, the people that come in there are not going to afford me, but the doctors who come in there to work can. And you just contact those places and see if there's anything that they would be interested in doing.
So true. Yeah, that's great advice too. And I'll second the Chamber of Commerce thing because I've gotten several things from my local one. And there's a town over where they contacted me and I recommended an artist that lived in that town, and she's getting several things through the Chamber of Commerce. So that's a really great way to start getting stuff out here locally.
Well, post like crazy too. When you're working every day, I post, whether my project, whatever is coming along with it. And the reason for that is that creates that chatter. And I've gone viral, I think 5 or 6 times now. And just even like from this article that came out in this magazine last month, I've gotten several emails from people wanting to know, would you come down to Mississippi and paint on my barn? Now, I haven't taken those jobs up because I just don't want to. I don't need to. I don't want to. So by going viral and posting constantly and getting as much chatter as you can, then people will contact you for more jobs and more jobs and more jobs. And the last job that I was on, and this is important too, I made a sign with my name and my phone number and a couple of paintbrushes painted on it. And I think I do my Facebook page too. And I seriously, it was in the middle of a town, and I was getting 2 contacts per day of people wanting to know if I could paint for them. Well, the next mural that I just signed a contract for came from that sign that was there. That's how they found me and contacted me. And I'll tell you one other cool thing about that. This is what's really awesome, because I had my sign up. Then that village contacted me. The next village down contacted me. Then another on further down, and these are all along the Ohio River. These are river towns that have got a lot of ambiance and stuff. That now I'm to the point of where I will have about 5 or 6 murals in a row that they're talking about starting a mural trail. And that's good for tourism because people will travel from one town to the next town to see the murals, take pictures of them, and while they're there, they'll eat at the diner. And so this is a big thing for tourism, is that they're following the mural trail. And so that's been pretty cool too. I'm really excited about that. And I'll tell you something else. If you have a mural that you're really proud of, in our area, they bring out a magazine every month from the electric company, and they're always looking for articles to do. Contact them. Let them know that you've got a mural. And I did that with my Black History Month mural that I just completed, and they did an article for me in the local newspaper. Any of that kind of stuff is good advertising. And once your name is out there, people will start hiring you.
So true. So true. And I remember seeing a post of yours. I think I started following you on Facebook maybe 6 months ago or so. And I saw that you had a sign out in front, like in the yard, kind of an area right in front of you doing a mural. And I was just like, this is the best idea because there's so many people that love to come by and say, hey, how can I get a hold of you? Or even if they're too scared to come up and talk to you, they can just take a photo with it's basically like a business card as a sign. Like,
exactly. Yep.
How do you make this sign? Because I'm doing this. Do
you know what? My husband, he had a program that he was a part of. He's in the youth development program. And they had some outdated signs that are on those wires that look like a ladder kind of a thing. You see them all the time like on the corner at Walmart, where people will put up work from home kind of stuff. And it's like about a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch plastic corrugated. And it's a flat surface and they print on it. It's actually a vinyl sign. And he said, I've got tons of these. So I got it to fit and primed it, painted it, and just paint that sign in an afternoon. It was double-sided, and then put those ladder things, those wire ladders, and just shove them down into the ground. And it cost me nothing, and it's cool. And so I can just take it to wherever I go and stick it up again.
Yeah, that is genius. That's perfect marketing. And anybody painting outside, everybody do this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. That paid off big. I was quite surprised. Matter of fact, it got a little annoying because I'd be up there painting and my phone would go off, and I always stop because it's just me. It's that generational thing. You always stop. Phone rings, you go answer it. And so I did. I was getting like 2 contacts a day, and those have panned out big time. Those have panned out big.
Oh, such a good idea. Awesome. We're about at our hour mark here. I don't want to keep you too long, but one last question.
Yeah.
And if so, there's a lot of artists in this group and that listen to the podcast that they're just getting started. They're first getting their confidence and they're just getting started in the art world. And say somebody wanted to be a muralist. Where do you start? Where's a good starting point for that?
That one, like I said, I was a reluctant mural artist because my friend called me and I have a thing because I don't have education. I always felt like everything that I was doing was not up to par. Now, I think that goes along with also being an artist. We look at someone else's work and it's like, oh my gosh, I'll never be there. But at the same time, someone's looking at your work saying, oh my gosh, she is so good. And so I never had any confidence in myself for many, many years because of I just didn't have an art degree. And so the first mural that the woman told me to come and paint, she was like, actually, I'll tell you what she said. She said, Pam Kellough, get your butt in here and paint on my wall. And I said, okay, I will. And it was when I was done, it was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And so then from there, I just started peddling myself around. And like people, she told people, and then people would call me. But I'm not kidding you. My big, huge break came from the Parade of Homes. But like I said, a lot of people don't even know what that is. But to just get out there, and when I stopped doing the Parade of Homes was when I was contacted by the local school who asked me to come in and paint. And once I got in there and did that, then the library saw me. And then another school saw me. And then another school saw me. And then eventually that just keeps, it's just a snowball effect. It's hard to get started. I read these questions all the time, and it's just really hard to say this is the magic key. There is no magic key.
So true. Yeah, you just have to muster up the confidence and get started. And then in so many years, we can be where you are and making over $1,000 a day, which is just so inspiring.
Well, you have to know your market. You can't go to the flea market and say, I'll paint on your wall down here because those people are not going to pay the price for that. That's what I said about the Parade of Homes. There's not one person that goes through there that doesn't know that every piece of furniture at those houses are $1 million houses. They're going to be furnished with $1 million things. And you know what? That mural artist, she's $1 million mural artist. And so they were prepared to pay the price. And that gave me a huge boost of confidence to think somebody would hire me. And they did. These people hired me. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, well, finding the customers who have the budget for what it is that we can do. Because murals, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of space covered. And it's really, murals for businesses is definitely where the money's at. So I'm excited to hear you say that.
Yeah, it is. It's good.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. There's so many comments coming in on here. They're saying, thank you so much, Pamela. I learned so much. I'm going to implement. And then Taryn mentioned that she wrote 2 pages of notes. And thank you so much. There's a bunch of hearts.
Good. Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm glad to hear that. I want to encourage all of you. This is the whole thing, is you're better than you think you are. Just do it. And just be nice, be kind. People hire me because I'm a nice person. I went to a meeting and I had met with a group of women who wanted to do a mural. Actually, that's my next job with this. It's a huge contract. And they wanted me to do this mural in this town. And I won them over by listening to them, by being nice, by being kind, by not being arrogant because I'm the artist and you're not, kind of a thing. When I went, then they had me follow up with the village council. When I got there, they had all just gotten into a big, huge fight over finances. And here they're going to have me stand up and present about this $25,000 mural when you're fighting over money now. And the woman that fought for me is the one who I made the friends with. She was like, I want you to do this. So be kind. Don't buy your own PR and think your hind end is worth a whole lot, but just know it really is. And just be kind and work with your clients, and they will love you and they will hire you and they will refer you.
That's a great just cherry on top of this whole interview. That's so correct. Yeah, people like to work with nice people. And I had no idea what to expect, but you're very warm and welcoming. And this was...
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to come on and chat with us. I know so many people are taking so much from this. But yeah, your podcast episode will air in just a couple weeks. I'll send you all the info for that. And yeah, thank you again.
Please do. I appreciate that, because I worry. I'm a Southern Ohio hillbilly. And so many times I think, oh my God, what did I say and what did I sound like? So please, I would like to hear it. So, and I'd love to see the comments too. So.
Okay, yeah, I will definitely send you all of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. This has been really fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad. Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. I hope you're enjoying this Muralist Month feature with all of the large-scale painting talk. I know I am. But if you are wanting to start dabbling in murals yourself, or you think that you could just use a little help with that, I want to, again, point out all of the freebies that I offer. I just did a video training on how I price my mural projects. So I put out a pricing guide in the past. I have since updated it, and I've attached a video training with examples, like visual examples of projects that I've done with price tags on them. So I share exactly what I painted, what I charged for it. I even share some of the murals that I did early on that I drastically undercharged for. I show you that, and I show you what I would have charged for now, and just how I price things now versus back then. And yeah, I basically open up my website and go through photos of like, oh, yep, charged $5,000 for that one, did this wrong on this one, and you get the whole inside scoop. I share this in the inside of the Artist Academy as I do them. So Artist Academy members, you already have this training and you already see things like this as they're happening. I literally finish a project and then I share it inside of the Academy and say it went really well, or we had this hiccup, or I charged this much and then I profited this much. I spent this much in help. I spent this much in supplies. I share it all in the Artist Academy as I go. So I was like, okay, they really enjoy that. I'm going to take a mini version of that, put it on our training mural pricing guide thing, and you get to get a little snippet of that too. So go to artistacademy.co/pricing, or really better yet, just click the link in this podcast and it'll take you right to the pricing training, and you get to be a snoop and see how I price my stuff. And if you want to get even snoopier, you can also go to artistacademy.co/supply, where you get, you guessed it, my mural supply list with links and everything to all of my mural supplies. So you get to see how I price, and you get to see what I use to paint. So 2 big things. Take advantage of it if you're curious at all. So the mural supply list, I also include a video. I take you inside of my art studio and show you exactly what products that I have between the paint and why I use this paint over this other paint. And I show you what it looks like. I show you all the different brushes. I show you my 3 different ladders that I own and why I have 3 ladders and which is best for which project. I go pretty thorough. I show you everything. I even show you how I tote things around so that I don't have to make 10 trips to the car. It's all there. So artistacademy.co/supply. Just go to the show notes up here and you can click the links. But I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and I will catch you on the next one.